What if the Empire's last hope was a lying, cowardly brothel clown with no kung fu? Meet Siobo, a fast-talking street rat mistaken for a rebel and thrown into a deadly game of palace betrayal. He doesn't fight with fists, he fights with wit. From dodging castration to seducing royalty and outsmarting assassins, this guy bluffs his way to the top of the Qing dynasty. But in a world where everyone wears a mask, can a con man survive long enough to expose the truth? If you're into wild comedy flicks where chaos meets kung fu, this one's for you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell, because Siobo's nonsense is just getting started. The movie opens in 17th century China during the early reign of Emperor Kangxi of the Qing dynasty. Because the emperor is still young, 4 regents are appointed to assist him. Among them, the most ruthless is Aobai, a power-hungry figure who dominates the court with fear and violence. He bullies the young emperor, eliminates rivals, and manipulates the government for his gain. His cruelty sparks deep resentment among the nobles, especially from a man named Chan Kan-nam, a respected kung fu master and leader of the Tiandi Association, also known as the Heaven and Earth Society. The young emperor also despises Aobai. Though he sits on the throne, he's treated like a puppet, stripped of any real power. Secretly, he wishes to eliminate Aobai, but he must tread carefully. We then meet Siobo, a fast-talking, street-smart rascal who works as a storyteller inside a local brothel. Though cowardly and lazy at heart, Siobo is sharp-witted and cunning, using humor and charm to make a living among the prostitutes and gamblers. His favorite pastime? Spinning wild tales about brave rebels and kung fu legends, much to the delight of his regular audience. One day, as Siobo is in the middle of one of his exaggerated tales, Imperial guards storm the brothel, hunting for Chan Kan-nam, who is rumored to be in the premises. The guards have never seen Kan-nam's face before, and, mistaking Siobo for him, they prepare to arrest him. Just then, Kan-nam appears. With masterful kung fu, Kan-nam unleashes a furious attack on the guards. Siobo watches in awe as he dismantles the soldiers with precise, deadly moves. But during the scuffle, one of the attackers throws white powder into Kan-nam's eyes, temporarily blinding him. Now vulnerable, Kan-nam stumbles, but Siobo surprisingly comes to his aid. Using his quick thinking, he helps him escape. Grateful for saving his life, Kan-nam agrees to grant Siobo a favor. Siobo eagerly seizes the chance and begs to be taught kung fu. Kan-nam agrees and recruits him into the Heaven and Earth Society. Siobo becomes his apprentice. Political unrest brews as the Heaven and Earth Society, loyalist to the fallen Ming dynasty, plots to overthrow the Qing regime. Kan-nam needs someone to go on a dangerous mission, to steal the legendary Sutra of 42 chapters, a sacred text believed to contain a secret that could turn the tide in their favor. But the sutra is hidden deep within the imperial palace. Kan-nam needs someone to penetrate the palace and won't arouse suspicion. Siobo is chosen as a volunteer. Kan-nam pulls him aside and explains the task. Siobo, though reluctant, has no choice. But there's one major problem. He doesn't know any kung fu, which makes him dangerously vulnerable if he's discovered. To help him survive, Kan-nam gives him a kung fu manual and prepares him for the undercover mission. Before sending him off, Kan-nam tattoos the soles of Siobo's feet with a unique symbol. This mark will prove his identity to Ming allies working secretly inside the palace. But when Kan-nam tries to draw on the second foot, Siobo, too ticklish, tells him not to bother. He'll finish it himself. Siobo heads off for recruitment at the palace. But as always, trouble finds him. A palace guard misleads him, and Siobo accidentally wanders into the eunuch's quarters. The eunuchs, assuming he's a new recruit, quickly seize him for castration. Siobo protests, explaining it's a mistake, but they ignore him. Just as they prepare to go through with the procedure, Tai Fu, the head eunuch, steps in. Tai Fu saves Siobo from being mutilated, but not out of kindness. He quickly reveals his true motive. He needs a pawn. He uses the fact that he saved Siobo earlier to blackmail him. Tai Fu implants a mysterious substance into his wrist using his powerful kung fu. If Xiubo refuses or fails to follow his orders, the substance will slowly disintegrate his bones from the inside. Xiubo is terrified and trapped. Tai Fu's goal is to expose a secret he suspects about the Empress Dowager. He believes she's not who she claims to be, but he can't investigate directly. So he forces Xiubo to do the job for him, specifically to steal her copy of the Sutra of 42 chapters from her chambers. Tai Fu assures him the Empress Dowager is away at a temple and won't return for 2 hours, more than enough time to retrieve the book. But just as Xiubo sneaks into her room and begins searching, the Empress Dowager unexpectedly returns. To divert attention, Tai Fu attacks the Empress Dowager. A fierce clash erupts in the palace as her guards and handmaidens rush to defend her. In the chaos, Xiubo slips into the room and quickly locates the sutra tucked beneath the bedsheets. Just as he grabs it, the princess appears and snatches it out of his hands. Xiubo gives chase through the palace corridors. The princess leads him straight to the emperor, her brother, and teases Xiubo as he catches up. Mistaking them for eunuchs, Xiubo demands the book back. What he doesn't realize is that he's standing before the emperor himself, along with the princess of the Forbidden City. The emperor, amused by Xiubo's cluelessness, decides to have some fun. He challenges Xiubo to a fight, promising to hand over both the Empress Dowager's sutra and his own if Xiubo wins. Xiubo agrees. Unsurprisingly, Xiubo is effortlessly defeated, flailing helplessly as the emperor playfully overpowers him. The princess watches with delight, clearly enjoying the show. Frustrated, Xiubo tries to save face by bluffing. He threatens to report them to his master, claiming he's backed by a powerful kung fu warrior. He has no idea that Tai Fu, the very man he's talking about, is also a high-ranking official in the palace. Having taken a liking to Xiubo, the emperor writes a letter and hands it to him, addressed to Tai Fu. In it, he commands Tai Fu to teach Xiubo kung fu and treat him kindly, as he intends to make him one of his close confidants. When Xiubo delivers the letter, Tai Fu is disappointed. He asks Xiubo what kind of kung fu he'd like to learn, leaving him shocked. Moments ago, Tai Fu was threatening to kill him. Now, he's being nice. Xiubo, sensing the sudden power shift, seizes the opportunity. He skips the martial arts talk and simply asks for food. He hasn't eaten since arriving at the palace. His request is granted. As he devours his food, his kung fu training begins in earnest. Eager to test himself, Xiubo later challenges the emperor to another friendly fight. The princess watches, entertained by the duel. Though the emperor nearly defeats him, Xiubo wins by grabbing the emperor's crotch, causing him to yelp in pain and surrender. From the princess's cue, Xiubo then realizes the young man and woman he's been joking around with are the emperor and the princess of the Forbidden City. Just then, one of the emperor's domineering regents, Aobai, barges into his royal study uninvited, flanked by his men. He demands the emperor issue an arrest order for a certain court official. The emperor refuses. There's no evidence of wrongdoing, but Aobai coldly tells him that his word is enough evidence. Though scared, the emperor remains adamant. Meanwhile, Xiubo and the princess are hiding under the emperor's desk. She's clearly smitten with him. Being mischievous, she reaches into Xiubo's robes and grabs his crotch, only to realize in shock that he's not a eunuch, as she assumed. She squeezes hard, making him yelp and rise in pain, accidentally revealing their hiding spot to Aobai. Aobai immediately assumes Xiubo is an intruder. Without hesitation, he orders him seized and taken for execution. But the emperor quickly intervenes, declaring that Xiubo is his new personal subordinate and trusted aide. Thinking fast, Xiubo stands his ground. He uses his silver tongue to de-escalate the situation, subtly mocking Aobai's arrogance while reaffirming the emperor's authority. He becomes the voice the emperor doesn't yet have, pushing back against the Aobai's tyranny with carefully veiled defiance. The emperor, impressed by his boldness, promotes Xiubo to a secret post, his personal spy. He assigns him 2 tasks: keep a close watch on Tai Fu and also on Aobai. The emperor admits that while Tai Fu is a respected official, but his recent behavior is suspicious. He also reveals that Tai Fu seems to hate the Empress Dowager and might be plotting something dangerous. Inside the palace, Siobo continues to win the favor of the young emperor, a boy raised in seclusion, surrounded by lies and manipulated by power-hungry officials. The emperor is idealistic, naive, and hungry for real connection. Siobo gives him that. Still, Taifu hasn't forgotten his mission. He continues pressuring Siobo to recover the sacred sutra of 42 chapters, the very book that sparked this dangerous journey in the first place. That night, the Empress Dowager summons him. He makes his way to her private chambers, only to realize it's not the Empress Dowager waiting for him. It's the princess. Mischievous and seductive, she demands he satisfy her desires. Siobo hesitates for all of 2 seconds before giving in. They end up sleeping together. Afterward, he pretends to cry as if remorseful, but deep down, he clearly enjoyed every moment. Suddenly, the Empress Dowager returns. Enraged, she orders Siobo's execution on the spot for desecrating the royal house. But before she can act, Taifu bursts in. He boldly accuses the Empress Dowager of being a fraud. He claims the real Empress Dowager has no martial arts skill, yet this one clearly does. He demands she reveal her true identity. A brutal fight breaks out between Taifu and the Empress Dowager. They clash with deadly precision, exchanging lethal blows until both are severely wounded and collapse. With both of them incapacitated, they plead for Siobo to finish the other off. Taifu gasps for him to kill the imposter, calling her evil. She, in turn, begs him to strike down Taifu. Siobo stands frozen. He wants no part in their feud. Taifu, fueled by rage, tries to rise again. Siobo quickly steps forward and urges Taifu to heal him first in case he doesn't survive the fight. As Taifu moves closer, Siobo accidentally stabs him with a snake blade the Empress gave him earlier, causing him to retreat in a strange manner. Moments later, the Emperor rushes in, having heard the commotion from his mother's chambers. The Empress Dowager spins a quick tale. Siobo had saved her from an assassin. Later, Siobo reports to the Emperor revealing that Taifu has lost his mind. Siobo takes full responsibility and pleads for forgiveness. The Emperor doesn't respond to that. Instead, he stares at Siobo with a cold, knowing expression. He's finally figured it out. Siobo isn't a eunuch. Caught off guard, Siobo stammers and explains the misunderstanding and begs for mercy. But instead of anger, the Emperor surprises him with an awkward smirk. In a strange act of payback, he reaches out and grabs Siobo's crotch, just as Siobo once did to him. Now they're even. One day, the Emperor summons Siobo and Duolong, one of his close allies. He expresses that his authority is constantly being challenged, especially by Aobai. He defies royal commands without consequence. Frustrated, the Emperor shares his plan to kill Aobai. He instructs Siobo and Duolong to assassinate him. He'll lure Aobai into his study alone. All they have to do is strike. Siobo and Duolong, thinking it'll be simple, brainstorm ways to kill him, and it is actually perfect plan. But when the moment comes, Aobai's strength and martial arts skill throw everything into chaos. He fights with brutal precision and slaughters the palace guards. When he lunges at the Emperor, Siobo's heart nearly stops. Then, unexpectedly, Taifu, who's been drifting in madness, snaps back to sanity. He joins the fight, but even together, they struggle. Aobai throws Taifu aside and charges after Siobo, who runs desperately into the Empress Dowager's chamber. The Empress Dowager engages in a vicious duel with Aobai. With help from her guards, she subdues and captures him. When the Emperor arrives, Siobo claims he defeated Aobai and saved the Empress. The Empress plays along, hiding her true strength and giving Siobo all the credit. Moved by his loyalty, the Emperor promotes Siobo to court official and grants him Aobai's vast assets, including his copy of the Sutra of 42 chapters. Later, Siobo visits his old brothel and reunites with his former master, Kan Nam. At the secret society gathering, Kan Nam praises him for his role in Aobai's downfall, but he warns the victory is temporary. Aobai's disciples and 7 vengeful monks are planning a rescue. Kan Nam proposes they use this opportunity to infiltrate the palace and kill both Aobai and the Emperor before the breakout occurs. Reluctantly, Siobo agrees. To protect him, Kannam assigns 2 elite female bodyguards. Torn between loyalty and obligation, Subo returns to the palace with a heavy heart as his conscience begins to crack. The emperor isn't a tyrant. He's young, naive, and trapped in a web of power. For the first time, Subo begins to question his mission. When the twin bodyguards arrive, the princess sees them and grows jealous, mistaking them for Subo's lovers. But Subo, called by the Empress Dowager, orders the female guards to restrain her so she won't expose them. The Empress Dowager, suspecting he's read the Emperor's sutra and the one he removed from her chamber, interrogates him about its secrets. Subo plays dumb, because he is. Illiterate, he never read the sutra and had already handed it to Kannam. The Empress doesn't believe him. Then she checks his foot. A symbol marks him as a member of the Heaven and Earth Society. Subo now begins to suspect she isn't the real Empress Dowager with the way she's moving. Likely a spy. When she fails to extract the information she wants, she throws Subo into the same prison as Aobai. Meanwhile, back at the palace, the princess escapes the guards. While fleeing, she stumbles into a forbidden chamber deep within the palace and finds a shocking sight. The real Empress Dowager, bound and hidden. The woman posing as her mother is a complete imposter. Back in the prison, Aobai's disciples launch a rescue mission. They break him free and take Subo as a hostage. But as they flee through the forest, they cross paths with Kannam and the Heaven and Earth Society. Both sides clash in a brutal showdown. Kannam slaughters the disciples, leaving only Aobai. Now it's a battle between 2 titans. Kannam and Aobai fight savagely, neither holding back. Wounded and exhausted, they fight until Taifu suddenly reappears and joins the battle. Still weakened but determined, Taifu helps turn the tide. Together with Subo, they exploit Aobai's weakness, giving Kannam the chance to finally kill Aobai. Before departing, Kannam heals Subo's arms and warns him to stay alert. Taifu, now dying, asks if Subo has discovered the true identity of the Empress Dowager. Right on cue, the imposter reveals herself. She's no empress, but the holy girl of the Dragon Gang. She demands the sutra or threatens to kill him. Just then, the emperor storms in. She quickly fabricates a lie, claiming she was kidnapped by the TND Association and that Subo is one of them. To sell her story, she references the tattoo beneath Subo's foot. But when they check, the symbols don't match her claim. Subo lies about the reason for the tattoo, but quickly reveals she's not the Empress Dowager. The woman denies it fiercely, but just then, the princess appears, bringing with her the real Empress Dowager. The emperor is stunned. He orders his guards to kill the imposter, but she flees. Before vanishing, she promises Subo they'll meet again. The emperor, overwhelmed by all that's happened, turns to Subo and bestows upon him the title of Duke for exposing the imposter and killing Aobai. The movie ends with the fake empress, elsewhere transforming into her true form. With cold vengeance in her eyes, she vows to return. Bro started in a brothel, got mistaken for a rebel, dodged getting snipped, then somehow became a duke, all without knowing a single kung fu move. If that ain't peak main character energy, I don't know what is. Hit that subscribe before Subo cons his way into your palace.